Well, Rob, we are here in the podcast studio. This has been something we've been dreaming about since 2 years ago when COVID started, having a room that we could just kind of plug and play into announcements, but also doing things like this where we get to talk about.
I feel like I'm on an ESPN set.
That's kind of how I feel too. We need to get funnier things behind us. We have some art coming.
Yeah.
Make sure my mic's up high enough. Get some art coming, but yeah, we need to, like the talking heads. We need a TV. We can Skype in like Peyton Manning and his brother have been doing.
But we're doing that with this without any prompters.
That's true.
They need to know that.
And in one take. We also need to, at least most of the time in one take.
Right.
But we're starting up our sermon talkback series, which is something that you, Luke, and Lisa and myself, we really enjoy doing, which is crafting a sermon. And it really is a craft, to put these things together. And I'm blessed to watch you do it, almost every week and see the inner workings. And but we get to kind of pull the curtain back, so to say, on some of those things and why that is our aim and where we're kind of going. And this month and this season of Advent is, it's a big deal for the church. I had a phone call recently, and a guy from back home in Texas was asking if I was going to be home for Christmas, and I said, well, it's kind of a big time of year for me. I don't know if you know, but the Savior is born kind of deal. So, it is a big season, but it's more than that, right?
It is, and I think it's always a wonderful, challenging season because in Advent, you don't jump right to the full joy of Christmas. There's, Advent always has this themes of waiting and watching, and this year we thought kind of some of that rhythm could be done through dark and light, which are both very scriptural in terms of metaphor.
Yeah, when you and Luke kind of brought this theme forward, and Luke's wife Andrea has written these beautiful liturgy around this, and has a study of her own, and that you can find if you want to.
So what the people hear every Sunday during the Advent lighting is a piece that she wrote. That we're
exactly,
using.
And that interplay between light and dark, and you've now had the opportunity to preach one Sunday on darkness, and then this Sunday was on light. And what was that like to try to balance those?
I like the challenge of it, and I felt myself kind of going, back and forth and letting both of those metaphors kind of inform me, and it made me think a lot about. I loved that phrase that we found the first week in Isaiah, the treasures of darkness. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there are these hidden treasures. And I think Luke's going to even delve into that a little more this week.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he does with it. Yeah. I thought starting Advent not with John, but using John this week was such a good and fascinating choice because, like, you started the sermon so beautifully about the beginning of John's gospel, but then bracketing us to the end. And that imagery of the risen Christ blowing on an ember for food
isn't that interesting? John has this big celebration at the beginning of the gospel. Into the darkness has come the light. Darkness has not put it out. And then at the end, you have this little flicker of light. Now, what I like about that is, I think if we're searching for evidence of the light, it's going to be a little more like a spark, a charcoal fire, not some explosion of light. And I think that's so interesting. At the end of the gospel, John's saying, hey, the light is still here.
Yeah.
But you could miss it.
Yeah, gosh.
You could miss it. So.
And that's the season. I mean, and you go on in your sermon, and that's where I want to talk about is how often do we miss the little spark, and we confuse it with a twinkling light at a big box store, and I thought you brought us really into kind of a new realm this week about aliveness, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about that W.H. Auden piece, because that smacked me, I'll be honest, right in the face this week about trying to pray to a God that we're putting in a box, and
probably some people would say, Rob's working some of his stuff out a little bit there. Maybe I was. And I kind of owned a little bit of the frustration I have that here we going through, and that little phrase that the minister wrote in a piece years ago, we're going to have a nice little Christmas around here. And that just doesn't, to me, quite live up to the aliveness that I was John was trying to capture for us. The W.H. Auden piece, oh my goodness. So if you didn't hear it, it goes something like this. So Auden says, and there's a little bit of sardonic nature to what he's doing here. And he says, oh, this is the time of year some Christians will actually find themselves offering up a prayer.
Yeah.
But then he goes on and says, but the prayer is going to sound something like this. Take away, God, take away your justice, take away your truth. We don't want that. And then this phrase is, he goes, we just want a Merry Christmas. Become our uncle.
Yeah.
Look after Willie and his homework. Muriel, help her find a, handsome naval officer, on and on. And at the end of it, he says, just be safe and weak like us, and we'll love you like we love ourselves.
Yes, that's the piece that we'll love you like we love ourselves. I was just you recoil at it, especially right now when you have people asking, what do you want for Christmas, or you just had a birthday, what do you want for your birthday, or what are you doing, and we want to focus on that. And so I thought that was so wonderful, especially as we're moving into this. You touched on aliveness, and you and I can both say last year at Central to do Christmas inside with no one was. I mean, it was hard on everyone, the whole congregation, but I know the staff here felt it. Pretty firmly, and so it can be easy to almost dwell on that. This morning in a prayer group, I asked people about what did they remember of their Christmas Eve experience last year. There's a big snow, and they're trying to. Some people went and tried to watch it with their families that they would normally gather with, and almost got stuck. So everyone still had a great memory around it, and there was an aliveness, and we felt that spirit. But it's so much different. And when you were talking about aliveness this week, you were saying some stuff about who we are as a people called Central, and I wanted to ask you, what inspired that this week? And
I think what inspired it in many ways was the hope that I experienced during this year of pandemic is that there was all kind of evidence that we weren't just going to endure this pandemic, but you could see life force, just percolating to the surface, and missions and outreach and the youth and the children's ministry and all of our groups trying to figure out how can we still be church. And I remember for a moment not long ago when I was thinking about last year, I almost blacked out Christmas. I asked somebody here on the staff, it might have been you, Patrick, I said, were we even here last year?
Yeah.
I can't even, all my years, Christmas Eve is like a 16-hour day usually for me that I really look forward to. And we had done all of our Christmas Eve pre-recorded, I think, correct?
We did it, I think, a day or two ahead because of the big snowstorm that was coming. And we wanted to still record it close to the time of the 5 o'clock service so that it would feel natural to us. And
but none of us were even here. No. That's hard for me to. However, what I think I was picking up on this is that there were all kind of evidence of life force. I love John. And I tried to, and I was helped on this. Some biblical scholars made this connection more than said when John talks about light, and he loves talking about light. It's called the Gospel of Light. Light and life are synonymous. And McLaren pushed on that a little bit and said, look, what's being celebrated here in John is what God sent into the world through Jesus wasn't a new religion or new principles as much as a new vitality, a whole new way and day of living. And so that was my hope toward the end of the sermon. Hey, folks, let's don't order toast when Eggs Benedict is on the menu.
I loved that line. I was
this is what. Let's have a full Christmas of joy and wonder, and I think we're going to. I really do.
And I just loved, how much. We're not saying don't have a normal Christmas with your family. We're not saying don't put a tree up and give each other gifts. But how much more alive can all of that be when that spirit of light and that spirit of aliveness in John's gospel is the core of it. What was the line though? The last. Well, first I wanted to say was what you said about your dad and his birth certificate.
Yeah,
that was I loved that. That was what a funny story. And to be a human being is
Yeah.
Something that
It goes with the territory of you got that with your birth certificate.
And you and I love being outside. You love to hike, and so do I. And there's something about the aliveness and being able to pulse and respiratory life that is good. We can enjoy conviviality, but you and I like to do those things with other people and to share those experiences. And so to me, that's this idea of aliveness, and
that's good. That's well said.
And coming from a birth certificate standpoint, we think about grace here and the aliveness we feel at a baptism and at the communion table that we celebrated.
Right.
I just imagine, you baptizing a baby, and you're born, and that you're given that pulse and respiratory life, but you're also given
this opportunity.
Yeah.
And then that's something extra. We have the opportunity to choose that and that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And that's, for some reason this year we kept hammering on this, the new year, this is our new year.
Exactly.
But what I love about that is that's our time to re-up, to say, count me in. I'm still on the adventure
and
here.
what was I guess it was 2, maybe 3 Christmases ago, we talked about the Charles Dickens line that Luke brought up about, this is the time of year when men's hearts are more open, and this is our time to re-up. There are people that you might have been worshiping online with us for a long time, or catching worship when you could, and this is a time to say the Spirit is still alive here at Central, and we're going to keep going. And you ended in a perfect way with McLaren and saying, we all have the chance.
Our hearts and minds can become the little town, the stable, the manger to receive the gift. And that's kind of the hope I have Christmas Eve this year.
Yeah.
We'll be in that posture, in that position, and it'll be good for us as a church, for us as families, individuals. And by the way, we will have 3 in-person services.
Yeah, we'll have all 3 services, and you can get to those online on Realm. We'll still have the 2:30, the 5, and the 11. And if you have any trouble registering for one of those, or you don't have a Realm account yet, please call the office, either myself or Rob or Luke, and we'll get you connected with Jan. And Jan Griffin, our administrative assistant, is the kind of the Realm guru, and she'll be able to help with all of those different things. And we're just looking forward to a time where we can open our hearts. I loved that, to be the manger, to receive the gift of light. And Rob, we have what else coming sermon-wise? Luke is preaching this week on darkness.
And then we're going to do this, 3 or 4 of us, Lisa, Patrick, Luke, and myself, on the 19th. And we're inviting you to be a part of the sermon writing.
Yeah.
We've put a little... Can they see it on this? Or
we'll put it down. I'll have Rachel. It's on our e-news, and we'll have the link down below here too. And
it's a pretty simple, straightforward question. Of the leading figures, characters in the Christmas narrative, which have been the most impactful in your life? And don't be overwhelmed by you're having to be too literary. Or we would just like a few sentences around that, and you'll be a part of the. We won't quote you, put your name on it, but
unless it's really good, then we'll then we'll steal it and put our own name on it.
That's right.
Well, Rob, I'm just so grateful for this, and I look forward to next week, and I'm looking forward to Christmas Eve, and I'm so thankful for all of you, as I know Rob is.
Absolutely.
The people called Central, as we move forward to into the light and into the darkness and into a new aliveness.
And let's go beyond just having a nice little Christmas.
Yeah.
We can have
a
Christmas of joy and wonder.
Well, thanks, friends.